My guest today is legit the best safety in the NFL. He played college football at LSU and was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals in the 2013 NFL Draft. And since joining the league, he's absolutely dominated. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time Pro Bowler, and of course, he's a Super Bowl champ, winning the title with the Chiefs in 2020. It's my absolute honor to welcome to Jake's Takes the Honey Badger himself, Tyrann Mathieu. What's up, Tyrann? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jake. Appreciate you having me, man.
Man, it's so awesome of you coming on, but I gotta give a huge shout out to Alexandra for being so nice to me. Isn't she just awesome?
Oh, yeah, she's my favorite. No doubt about it.
By the way, Tyrann, how's your offseason been?
It's been going good. Obviously, wish we would have been in the playoffs this year. Kind of missed that feeling, but yeah, man, it's been fun to say the least. So I just started back training, working out, getting back into the groove of things. So probably I'll take a couple of vacations here and there, but yeah, man, just trying to stay focused.
We're gonna talk about the playoffs later, but where are you hanging out nowadays?
I'm in Louisiana, so I'm right outside of New Orleans. Yeah.
All right. Okay, you ready to talk some NFL?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So it's pretty clear you're the best safety in the league today, and no other safety can just match your credentials. You're a 3-team first-time All-Pro, a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time Pro Bowler, and a Super Bowl champ. And I know you just missed out on the playoffs, like you said. How hard is it for you as a Super Bowl winner to miss out on the playoffs and have to watch it?
I mean, it sucks. I mean, it absolutely sucks. I think obviously, when the season ends, you realize that, there's a few teams that are going to continue playing, and those teams will have a chance to, chase that ultimate goal, and I think that's the Super Bowl. And so, obviously I'm a huge fan, of a lot of guys in the NFL. So it's kind of bittersweet. It's bitter because I'm not playing, but then it's kind of sweet to see other guys kind of, play in front of nationally televised audiences and, kind of create their own name for themselves.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. You guys went 7-10 with all the injuries you had to Michael Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore. How'd you guys pull through?
Well, I think ultimately, we just kept coming to work, each and every day. I think we had our, fair share of adversity. I thought we didn't start. I believe we didn't start the season the way that we all wanted it to. But I think we ended the season on a high note. I think we went like 3-1, 4-1 to kind of end the season. So I think that was a good feeling for us, especially going into next season. But we got a good football team. I think every now and then the injury bug and different kind of adversities that they set in, and sometimes it takes a toll on you.
I actually want to ask you about Marshawn Lattimore. He's something special. Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2017, and he's one of the top lockdown corners in football. He was injured this year, but we saw when he came back, he's still the same old Marshawn with his pick six against the Eagles. But how do you feel about having another stud safety in the back, another stud second player in the secondary with you?
Well, I mean, he's a dominant player. I played with a lot of great DBs, over the course of my career, from Patrick Peterson to, L'Jarius Sneed, who's kind of making a name for himself right now in Kansas City. And Marshawn is just one of those guys that, when he's out there, man, you can count on him. He's going to be physical. He has great feel for routes and, what to expect from certain receivers. And he's been doing it a long time too. So, I think he made probably like 3 or 4 Pro Bowls himself. And so, I think anytime you're able to play with a guy, with that kind of resume, I think both of us kind of bring out the best, in each other.
Yeah, you guys are an unstoppable duo when you're both playing.
Yeah.
Anyway, in addition to being known as one of the best safeties in football, you're also known to have an absolutely huge heart for your teammates. You've made insane relationships with your teammates and everything. But with the upcoming Chiefs game, who are you pulling for? You pulling for the Chiefs?
Well, yeah, I think, I think anytime you're able to win a championship, with an organization, I think those kind of things, last forever. And, obviously I have great relationships with, Andy Reid and Coach Spags, and even some of the players as well. So, I'm always wishing the best for those guys. I'm always rooting for those guys, unless they're playing against my team, and then I kind of got to roll with my boys.
Then all of a sudden they're like your number one enemies.
Right.
By the way, can we talk about Pat Mahomes for a second, though? He is so special. I read something
Yeah.
today, actually, that blew my mind. Of the 4 quarterbacks left in the NFL playoffs, Mahomes is the oldest at 27. Can you
Right.
believe
That's
that?
crazy. Yeah,
Or-
I mean, it's definitely, a change in time. I think, we're all kind of used to, Brady and Rodgers and, even Matt Ryan, in a sense, those guys kind of being some of the last quarterbacks standing. So, I mean, I always knew he was going to be special, especially when I joined the Chiefs, in 2019. He's like the ultimate competitor. He's like the ultimate team player. And, I think he just does things that, you can't even do it on a video game sometimes, So he's a real special talent.
Man, I love video games, but I agree, I cannot do that. What do you think Pat's the best quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I think he is. And obviously there's, I'm an LSU Tiger. So, I always give Joe, his credit and I think he's a great quarterback as well. I think Josh Allen is a great quarterback. I think what Pat has been able to do, going to 5 straight, AFC championship games, being a most valuable player, he's probably going to win it again, this year. Just being able to consistently year in and year out kind of lift this team, to the last game or last couple games. I don't remember a quarterback doing that, outside of Tom Brady. So I think, he's definitely, one of the best right now.
In addition to what you just said, what's crazy is that he lost one of the best weapons in football in Tyreek Hill.
Oh yeah,
And it seems
yeah.
like he got better. He leads the league in passing yards, leads the league in passing touchdowns. In my opinion, he's got to be the best.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, most quarterbacks, I don't think that they can lose their, best wide receiver, and then still kind of compete, at the level that they're used to. And so, hats off to him, man. I think a lot of guys, they could get in those situations and they could feel that pressure, and they could start to press, and try to make, the spectacular plays all the time. But, he's just been playing the same game he's always played. And, I think it's worked out for him a lot this year.
Yeah, I agree. Without a receiver, it's really hard for a quarterback to be amazing. Look at Joe Burrow. He's
Yeah,
got Jamar Chase. They got like an insane connection together. Josh Allen and
yeah.
Stephon Diggs. I can't believe Mahomes is doing what he's doing without
Oh,
Tyreek.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, speaking of quarterbacks, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge Ravens fan, and I gotta
Okay.
ask you about Lamar being uncertain right now. As much as I would hate to see Lamar leave, if he does, I want him to go somewhere where he would strive and have amazing players around him. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at your roster right now, and where else would be a better place for Lamar to suit up? I mean, yeah, Andy, I'm not knocking on Andy Dalton at all, but come on, that would be a huge improvement for you guys. How excited would you be if you would be able to get Lamar on your team?
Well, I think first and foremost, any team that gets him, instantly becomes, one of the better teams in the NFL. I think he's that physically gifted, and, kind of like to the point you made, he's been able to do these kind of things without having number one wide receivers, injuries to his running back position. He's been kind of, been able to kind of lift that offense and carry that offense week in and week out. So, I think if he does go to an organization that, has a true wide receiver that has a good running back, I think he can definitely, win another MVP. And who knows? I've seen a lot of crazy things happen in the NFL. So I wouldn't say it's far fetched to see him, wearing a Florida Lee helmet, in the future.
As a Ravens fan, I'm really, really hoping for them to re-sign him and bring in a receiver that he would love. Maybe someone like D-Hop on the market, but
Oh
I
yeah,
I can understand what you're looking for.
oh yeah, absolutely.
This year you guys were 7-10, and you guys almost won the division. You were one game behind with the Falcons in
Mhm.
rebuild mode, and now Tom Brady's like future in Tampa Bay in jeopardy. This division could be wide open. Are your Saints ready to pounce?
Yeah, man. And to be honest, we kind of felt like we kind of let that ball drop this season. We let a lot of close games really slip away from us. Really both of the Tampa Bay games, and both of the Carolina games. I think those are four games right there that we kind of felt like we should have won, that we didn't win, and so I'm hoping next year, man, we can kind of learn from that and really put ourselves ahead in our division.
Your Saints defense is pretty special. You got some guys like Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore. But when you're on defense, who's the hardest quarterback to scheme against?
Oh man, hardest quarterback to scheme against, I'd probably say Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's definitely an underrated passer. But I think anytime you factor in, what a quarterback can do, in a run game, with his legs, most quarterbacks aren't an extra player on the field. It's really you playing against 10 guys, and then it's like you play against a guy like Lamar Jackson, and then you realize, it's 11 players on the field, and not just 10. So, he's definitely one of the more tougher ones to scheme against, to practice for, and even to play against.
I want to ask you about some of the players you've played with because you've played with some insane players in your career. In Arizona, you
Yeah.
got to play with Hall of Famers and Larry Fitzgerald, Calais Campbell, way more on that team. The Chiefs with Mahomes, Kelsey, and definitely more. But of all your great teammates, who's taught you the most?
Oh man, I probably say Larry Fitzgerald and Patrick Peterson. Those were like the two guys that really took me under their wing. When I got drafted to the Cardinals, and me and Patrick go way back to my LSU days. Me and Pat, we have a really strong, good relationship, and I think when I got drafted, being able to come in the locker room with a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, who taught me so much about community work and giving back and, being accountable. I think both of those guys really kind of set the standard for me, as a young pup, coming into the league.
I mean, he did a great job because clearly you're giving me the time, and that's amazing.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, so last question, that okay?
Hmm.
So I gotta ask you about how the NFL is such a physical game, can lay someone out, but I feel like the roughing the passer calls have been way too soft lately. Do you agree with me?
I agree with you, and I don't disagree with you, but I think most teams are in a position where you know if their quarterback gets hurt, then it's a completely different season. And so I think the NFL is just trying to protect that. I think they're trying to give every team a fair opportunity to kind of put their best work, on the field because I don't think you can be, a championship team, without a good quarterback. I think quarterback play is like it's like so important nowadays to, winning and losing, along with coaching and defense. But, I think the quarterback position is just such a priority that, I can understand why they call some of the calls that they call. But me being a defensive player, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I think football is meant to be played, violent. Like people are meant to fall on the ground. You know what I mean? So it's tough, man. It's tough being a defender nowadays.
I can relate to seasons getting ruined because of a quarterback getting injured. 2 years in a row now, Lamar sadly getting injured, but we put up a good
Yeah.
fight against the Bengals.
Yeah, y'all did. Y'all did.
Tyrann, thank you so much for joining me today on Jake's Takes. Did you have fun with me today?
I had a great time with you, man. And anytime you need to holler at me, always reach out to me, man. More than willing to spend a couple minutes with you.
Thank you so much.